Welcome to the Prevent and Perform podcast. This is episode 1. I'm Ben, and my first guest, who I'd really like to give a warm welcome to, is Howard Bennett.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you for coming,
been,
Howard.
Yeah.
So you were the national coach for the Golfing Union of Ireland for 15 years?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. An extra 1 year because they wanted me to wait until the new fellow was attached.
Oh, well. Howard, first question to you. How did you transform Padraig Harrington from a 6 handicapper to a back-to-back Open champion?
Well, I inherited, as I say, a system that was good for the coach but not very good for the players. And I had a mixed boys and youth to start with. I inherited this situation of the coaching. And straight away we had 16 names on there. We actually had the boys British champion, amateur champion that is, at that time. And the officials gave me a list of names with 16 of them, all different ages, boys and youths. And it started by assessing which ones were the best. And obviously the boy that was the boy champion was number one. And it went down. There were 16 players I know. And they gave you a bit of a reference on what they thought about them and whether they were going to be any good or whatever. And actually they got down to around, I think it was actually about the 14th or 15th name when Padraig Harrington was named there. And I thought, oh, well, okay, fine. Each one, when I got to Padraig for his time, I only had 10 minutes, quarter of an hour each one, because you can imagine, I play in the afternoon and see how they play. So I had to get it structured in such a way that I could give them all between 15 minutes and 20 minutes, each one individually, to get to know them and they get to know me.
Yeah, to make it nice and concise then.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. So when we got down to, Padraig and looking at what they really thought about him, and they thought that he wasn't going to do any good because he's, I don't think he'd be good enough. But when I talked to him, I said, call me Howard. Every one of them, I said, call me Howard. Don't call me boss or anything. I just said, well, Howard, I'm here to help you. And basically, he said, right. I said, now tell me what's happening. I said, what you're working on, or what's your bad shot, what's your good shot. He said, this and that. And he told me everything. And he said, that's the one I don't like. He said, I don't like this one going to the left. He said, and so I tried to hit it, the fade. And I said, well, really, we'll try and do whichever one you want. That's a stock shot. So he said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do, Howard. He said, I'll listen to everything what you say, why it is and what the result is with the ball and everything else and the control of the ball. He said, and I promise you, he said, I'll probably only listen to you, take off what you take me, and I won't go 100%. I probably will only use about 30% of it.
Got you.
I said, okay, that's fine. He said, but I promise you, I will work at it.
Yeah.
He wants it so badly.
Yeah. The self-belief.
That was the one thing. Yeah, I said to him, I said, you've got to want this. You have to desire. He said, I call it the desire to do well. He said, I call it a want.
Well.
So that was the introduction.
Brilliant. So Howard, my second question to you is, why is golf such a mental game?
Well, it is a mental game in many areas, but basically, I compare playing golf with life when you make decisions. The thing about golf is, rather than any other sport, the ball is still. And every time, nobody can touch your ball. And while it's in tennis and cricket and football or anything else, the moving ball games or even snooker or throwing a dart, other people can decide on how you're going to respond to what they do. In golf, it's difficult because the ball is still and nobody can touch your ball or play it. The only time, every time you're going to hit the ball, you hit it, whether it's a putt or a wedge or a 5-iron or a driver. Once you've hit it, you walk and you find it. Then you make another decision. And then whatever it is, how way you do it. And then when you hit it, you go walk again and find it.
Yeah.
The only time you don't play from that is when you've knocked it out of bounds or it's a penalty shot.
Yeah.
So in other words, you don't get a second serve like you do in tennis. If you make a mistake, there's something wrong with the basic things I don't know whether I should go straight on to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you believe in gap, don't you? Gap, as
Yeah,
you're
grip,
saying.
aim, alignment, and posture. Because when you think about other sports people, whatever sport they're in, if they've been at the top and they have a sort of a tilt and they don't seem to be doing it, then everybody starts criticism in this country. Why? What's the matter? And then you see them coming back up again, and they say, "Hey, what have you done? You know, you've been out low." I've just gone back to basics. That's what the answer is.
Yeah.
I've just gone back to basics. And you say, well, what are the basics? And the position at address is you should really look for faults in your position at address before you golf flight of the ball and all the scientific stuff that's there is telling you exactly. But really, the position, all you really need to know is where does the ball start and where does it finish? But basically, you need to look, first of all, you need to look at your position at address. Are those things in place? Because if those things are not in place, you're going to have to make, adjustments in the swing.
Yeah.
There's two connecting points: feet to ground and hands to club.
Okay.
And basically, this piece in the middle, which is where the power is and everything else, you've got to be aware of what your feet are doing and what your hands are doing and what role they play. There's 3 movements you can make in the body, and I've asked a lot of technical people and whatever, doctors and people like yourself. There's 3 movements because you're a fixed point. You're not moving your feet all over the place like running for everything. You're a fixed point.
That's right.
So your body can do 3 movements. It can sway this way and sway that way, or it can go that way, dip, and then dip that way, or it can rotate. So if your body is naturally rotating to the right and rotating to the left, or in your case, the other way around, you're a left-hander.
That's right.
So I've got to really think when I'm working with you to say, hey, this the words have got to be right here because it might get misunderstood. But basically, once you realize that the most consistent one is when you rotate your body. So your arms will naturally rotate, which will take the club naturally rotating this way, because your forearms do rotate when you rotate your body this way.
Yeah.
And then when you return it that way, whether you're left or right-handed, it's entirely up to you. But that's what your body will do. The other 2 movements, you actually can play with it. In fact, people they've won majors dipping when they swing, and moving that way and that way, but they've got to play a lot of golf because it's not consistent. If you don't play a lot you can't.
It comes back to that hand-eye coordination.
Hand-eye coordination, where you had that's one of the things that you had.
So do you find with scientific players, do they tend to need an explanation as to why you're asking them to do a movement? Otherwise,
and that's what I try to do because I want them. You see, if I say to you, practice makes whatever, or anybody, usually they say perfect. And I say, well, not necessarily.
No.
So I said, now we go back into how you're practicing, whoever it is, So practice makes permanent. It's like you driving a car when you had a gear shift car and then you had a what's the name car?
Manual. Right? Manual or automatic, yeah.
Automatic. Your left foot, the guy says, put your left foot up, or in whichever way you play, whether right-handed or left-handed, with regards to driving a car.
Yeah.
You stick your left knee under, your foot under there, you're not going to use it. So what? Yeah, you're just using this one, your right leg.
Yeah.
And then the thing, when you do, you got to put your right leg and this one comes out and there's nothing there. So basically you've changed your muscles. You've educated muscles to do something.
Yep.
It's not muscle memory.
No.
So you're treating it, you're trained, I want you to do this and do this. So basically, once you get maybe people that are perfectionists to try and keep it as simple as possible, you can think of one thing back and you may be able to think of one thing through when you're practicing, but you want to think of just one thing because the swing's over in seconds when you think about it.